Hello, in a way, a weekend break from the ideas section, but in a way not, because it's all connected, where I'm going to talk to a couple of things that have been brought up, mainly in reply to the YouTube video I did. Now, this won't be a YouTube video, it's an Over the Peak video, and might post it on Gary's Vlogodome as well. Right, so I've got two things. I was going to do three, but I think two's probably best. Okay, on the Jubilee idea that I mentioned in the YouTube video, a lot of people, mainly I imagine the YouTube type people, have the idea that people in debt are poor people because they had to go into debt, and the people that they have borrowed from are necessarily the rich people because they had the money to lend them in the first place. So if there is a Jubilee, there will be a certain amount of fairness because the poor people will not pay the rich people back. I'm afraid there's just about, as far as I can see, none of that at all. Now, I've planned this, except I've forgotten his name, to talk about that Facebook chap again, Guttenberg or something. Faceberg. So, just a quick recap, because I used him a couple of months ago, of how you can become a rich people in the modern capitalist system. And to stop rich people becoming rich people, this system, this 1, 2, 3 or ABC, would have to be broken somewhere along the line. And not just that, but this ABC actually gets us to a place where we can see that they're sometimes not rich people. Right, so we've got Faceberg. Faceberg invents this Facebook thing, and it's successful. He borrows money off banks, angel funds, whatever it is, builds it up, and gets to a time where his advisors say you can take it public. So you can go to Wall Street and get the unwashed masses, invest their money into Facebook. If you want to maintain control of it, just sell 49%, and let's say you can get 20 billion for that. Then 20 billion goes into the company, and then you own 49% of that 20 billion, and potentially you've got another 20 billion, because if you did sell your half as well, presumably, although you would be getting out of the company, the same people that bought the one half for 20 billion would buy your half for another 20 billion. Something like that. But Faceberg, it hasn't really got 20 billion in the bank. He's just got potential wealth of a company that he owns. It would be very hard to find a system where this could be broken down. That's at the extreme end, that a young man can get to be so rich, hypothetically so early in life, but where it's kind of the market are the people that have decided to buy into Facebook. How can you stop the people buying into Facebook? It's almost as though if, stupidly, the world, for some reason, wanted to pay 20 billion for my empty mug of cocoa. How can you stop them doing it? This is the thing. It's just a mass thing. That's what they want to do. En masse, they want to buy bits of Facebook. And if en masse that happens, you've got an awful lot of power out there. Power, a wave of movement that wants to get their money and put it into buying Facebook. And it's a lot, big thing outside going into a very small space. That very small space technically becomes very rich, but it's not very rich. I mean, Facebook will be probably paying himself a good salary. And there's if he wants a villa on every continent and a plane and yachts, I'm sure he'd get them, either out of the company or the bank would just lend him the money anyway. But this is another point, that a lot of these kind of hyper-rich people that can be right up there in Forbes's top, whatever, 400, 500, sometimes they're just hugely in debt themselves. All their villas, yachts and planes are all on tick. They're all bought on borrowed money. This can happen as well. So it's just to say, when it comes down to a jubilee, the meme should not be built up that it will be the poor benefiting at the expense of the rich. It is much more likely that the people that have stampeded into buying Facebook shares, you could say it stupidly or not, if life continues as it has for the last few hundred years, they're not stupid. Actually, I might come to that. I'll stick that in as well. It wasn't my third thing, but I'll do that. So I'll have a little jump after this one. Technology. I'll go to technology. Google. But the thing is, those are either poor people, normal people that are investing little bits in Facebook, or they are companies like insurance companies or pension companies that are investing what is technically the money of the normal people. Most all of the people in the world are normal people, and most all of the money that's gone into Facebook is the money of the normal people, either directly or indirectly. And I know Jubilee doesn't directly fit in with the share value of Facebook, but I'm just putting it there as something to try and break the meme of debt jubilee will be just the poor not paying the rich. There will be a bit of that, but you can almost guarantee that the rich getting a whiff of it will find ways of getting out from underneath it where the mass normal people will not. So it would actually end up be the mass of normal people defaulting against the mass of normal people. Right. Now, should I go to money creation or the technical thing? I think the money creation thing, or money, is the place to go next, because the idea, which is another meme, that money is based on work, the labour of the working man, is utter nonsense. It's not in the slightest bit based on that. And for that, I mean, you can imagine it is, because the working man goes to work and is given money. But that's just by the by. Just know, because I'm going to tell you now, where money comes from. A little bit of money, the cash money, let's say it's always less than 5% of the currency, of the country's currency, let's say. 5% the cash. It's decent the way it's done, the way the cash is created. I'll just leave that, right? The 95% of the way the rest of the money is created is just created by banks out of fresh air into the economy. Normally, we could say UK figures, US figures aren't as big, but at least 3/4 of that money that the bank creates into the economy, goes into the economy, is for real estate, buying real estate. And I'm putting all these numbers down to lower, much lower numbers than I believe them to be. 75% of that, this one probably is about right, 75% of that real estate money is to rebuy old homes, not buy new homes. So what we've got is 5% of the money, cash, is reasonable. We won't bother about it. 95% is created by banks to buy normally real estate. It's loaned out from nothing to buy real estate. It's got fuck all to do with working. Absolutely nothing. It's got to do with is what banks think they can lend it out to for, with a great degree of confidence, or the greatest degree of confidence, that it'll come back to them with interest. And interest is nothing. It just keeps the banks ticking over. It's got nothing to do, the money and money supply and money in any way, shape or form has got nothing to do with working, the working man, or creating things. It never has had. There have been instances in the past where it was more connected to, it must be said. All right, more things are coming to mind where in the past it might have been more connected to. But at the moment, it is now not in the slightest bit connected to man's working. If it was, I mean, oh no, I won't go into that. I'll just leave it there. It's got nothing to do with it at all. So if you're ever thinking about money, you must, absolutely must know what I've just said, is that the vast amount of money is loaned out in most all Western nations by banks from fresh air for the resale of real estate. That is where the countries, the Western world, the modern industrial, the advanced world gets its money supply from. That is where its money supply comes from banks deciding it to lend out to resell real estate. That's where it comes from. And if you want to prove me wrong, you better dig out some real facts, because that is the fact. Germany's different. I was going to talk about Google, and yeah, I'll put a video up if I can find it, because I watched it a week or so ago, about the speed things turn over, and how globalization now makes the rich very, very rich and the poor a little bit richer. But it will, as globalization, if it still pertains, if it keeps going off into the future, globalization will inevitably make the rich richer. There will always be a richer class of person, because that whatever they are famed for is spread further around the world. There are more masses of people like that want to buy into the little Facebook thing, whatever that one thing is. There are more people in the world now that can get at it and fire their money at it, and the rich will always become richer because they can attract more money from around the world. But it's going to be very ethereal, as in very come and go, because the masses are like that. They kind of go in herds one way, and then they come out, and then they go in herds another way. So the rich better, when their 5 minutes of fame is on the go, they better grab it and nail it down, because the herd of money will go away from them a lot quicker now. On the Google one, I read an article last night that there is a chance that Google might go away to nothing within 5 to 7 years, because it's not going to be any good on mobiles, and the world could well turn mobile. These mobile phone things that I haven't got. So I'll dig that video out for you to watch if you like, just to show the incredibly fast turning pace of the world and what we have to keep up with. And just to note that the politicians are so ignorant even of the old world. They're not even in the 1970s yet, or they might be in 1982 or something like that. They are so far behind, and there's no chance in our lifetime that the politicians will ever catch up. And that's important to know. It isn't just a slap at the politicians. It's very important to know about what they are going to do to try and get ahead is a laugh, of the problems that we've got. They will always use not just out-of-date ideas, but sometimes they'll be horribly out-of-date ideas, and that's what we've got to look out for. We can imagine that they'll probably do this because it's the thing to do, but they won't. They'll use really old, stupid ways of trying to get out of this. Like they're doing at the moment, they're doing the exact same system. This beautiful deleveraging is exactly the same sort of stuff that the British used after the Second World War. Just one example, a silly example, but it's one thing that we must always know, that these politicians are as thick as planks of wood and are always going to do ancient processes that they'll never be up to date. Anyway, I'll leave you that video to watch if you're interested in modern technology, and recap on the 1-2 things that I said today. Debt jubilee is very likely to be the people against the people. The rich people will probably really not be involved at all. So to push it as in a 1% Occupy Wall Street sort of chant is probably a dumb thing to do. All it is kind of a reset so we can start again. And when we start again, the rich will still be the rich and the workers will still be the working poor in comparison. And the second thing is, know that if you want to break that thing that I said would just start again, the place to go would be the banking system, which is utterly insane in the Western world, where the money supply for all the Western world is given out by the banks, normally for the resale of real estate, which is a pretty fucking dumb idea.